Okay, welcome to Cable Media Podcast today. Please, can we know who is Dana Mary?
Thanks for having me. My name is Dana San. I am a media practitioner, a media professional, and also I am an educator with a nose for raising young minds into high value individuals. I'm a teacher. I love to work with children. I love to nurture children. I love to raise children and see them become the best and most authentic versions of themselves, at the end of the day. So primarily, we are talking about weaponizing children. In my work with children, one of the things that I find disturbing is weaponizing children. Weaponizing children simply means using children as weapons. And this is a very common practice. First, in homes where there is distress between the parents of the child, or where there's divorce, where there's separation, and in a bid to want the child to gravitate towards you as either of the parents, um, um, the tendency is that the children are always in the middle, so you find out that there are some children who don't have the presence of the other parent in their life, not because the other parent doesn't want to, but because one parent is weaponizing the other child. He must he must do this before he sees his child. She must do that before she sees her child. This must happen. The child is caught up in the middle of a lot of mess, So you weaponize the child because you want to deal with the other partner, the other parent, the other spouse. You weaponize the child because you want to get a certain kind of gratification or attention. You weaponize the child most times because of your own interests without necessarily considering the child. You want to throw the other person under the bus. The child is the weapon you use. And I really want to appeal that we should leave children out of whatever mess that it is, because the child was not part of the story. The child didn't choose the spouse or the significant other for you. And we also find that even within certain systems in society, children are weaponized. Some of them are extreme situations. Um, some can be religious. We find that the rights of children are not, child's rights are not being protected, and it becomes detrimental. And what weaponizing a child does, it causes childhood trauma. It causes trauma. Some of these traumas, children grow with them. And you know what trauma does, childhood trauma does? It is distressing to the emotions and the physical well-being of the child. you know, when we look within ourselves and we check within our members, some of us are not exonerated from this practice of weaponizing children. And it is something that we should curb. Sometimes it's as elementary as calling a child and conniving with a child to get or earn a result that is favorable to you is weaponizing a child. For example, calling your child to say to your child, when they ask you, don't say it. Don't say it. Giving the child the narrative to fly with, to run with, so that you can achieve a means. That is dangerous. That is not right. And there are so many other little details to look at when you I'll give you a very embarrassing situation, which I've come to realize is possibly common. When the school fees of a child is being paid by either of whoever the parent is that pays the school fees, and they keep driving the child, or they keep, you know, telling the child to miss classes because school fees has not been paid, whereas the parent who pays knows they are paid, and you keep telling the child, don't tell your daddy, don't tell your mommy. But you are the one who has the school fee at the time, and you know what happened to the school fee. And the child goes to school and faces the embarrassment of kids who did not pay school fees. The child goes to school, is asked to leave the classroom. You are in the know, waiting that possibly you use the school fee and you're going to replace it. You're weaponizing this child to the child's detriment. It happens a lot of times. Some people, some parents, even on social media, you find it. Just the other day, one of these famous comedians was thanking God because he was able to see his daughter at the end of the day. he had been deprived from seeing his daughter. Now, what happens is that while you feel good that you've been able to teach him a lesson, the child is suffering because communication with her other parent is leaving a vacuum in her life, a lacuna in her life. It's causing her distress. Every parent has a role to play in the life of a child, as long as those parents are alive. As long as it's so toxic to see that you deprive a child. So let us stop weaponizing children in our relationships. Let us stop weaponizing children to have selfish gains. Let us stop weaponizing children for things that will affect them on the long run. If you love your children, the best thing you can do is not to weaponize them or use them to get out your spouse. So anytime you choose to divorce, anytime you choose to separate, anytime you choose to get at your partner, do yourself the favor of leaving your children out of it. In fact, if it were possible, let them not even be in the know, particularly when they're children, some of them within the 9-year life cycle. If you cannot communicate to these children about the stress in a very healthy manner, please, you look for ways that will not put pressure on the emotional and physical um, realities of these children or life of these children. Okay.
Are there gender specific ways in which boys and girls are weaponized?
Yes, there are gender specific ways in which girls and boys are weaponized. First and foremost, a child is a child. But you see, society, we are socialized in a way where, these gender roles, where we tell boys, be a man. When you put a child, like my initial explanation I've given, so you expect that these children, you see a lot of children, you see children like man up. And sometimes you see in the presence of either divorce or separation, you see they'll say the boys should go with the man and the girls should go with the woman. These are very common things that happen. But the truth of the matter is that boys or girls deserve to have both parents active in their lives. So when you say that, are there different ways that these children, are there ways that boys or girls, gender ways in which boys or girls are weaponized? Of course, we have gender roles, and so gender roles naturally gives people the impression uh, on how, or give them a picture on how a boy child should function in society, or how a girl child should function, or the roles or the emotions, of how this should, happen. So what happens is that in weaponizing children, we naturally adopt or adapt the roles or the dispositions that we've assigned to either male or female of the children. So it's been addressed in different ways. In the separation, go with the boy, go with the girl, and then you try. Okay, we have the Oedipus and Electra complex, where we know that the girls gravitate to their father the most and the boys gravitate to their mothers the most. So you find that in the place of separation or divorce, you now wants to deprive the father of their daughters because you want to get at him, or you deprive the mothers of their sons because you want to get at the mothers. So that's where pretty much I think that gender comes in. You look for the best way to hit either of the partners, and of course you consider gender within the context or within the situation to get at the other person.
Fantastic. Okay, so what are the short and long term psychological effects on children who have been used as weapons? Weapons.
As weapons. See,
Yes.
I have stated it from the beginning: childhood trauma, childhood trauma. A boy. See, when we do not know how to behave, I want to believe that parents who do not know how to conduct themselves and weaponize children, with or without the other spouse, will not conduct themselves properly through the other areas and through the others. I'll give you a vivid example. I spoke about this sometime on my platform, and I said that, particularly when it comes to, with due respect to single parents who are parenting very beautifully, there are certain situations that are pathetic. When you take children away from the other parents, either the boys with the mothers or the daughters with the fathers. Now, this is what happened. Exposing your children already to other people other than their parents because you want to also find your happiness by being alone is injurious to them. It's traumatizing to them. When a son sees the mother with many other people, who are not there. So you see, that's why I say that when you choose or you find yourself in a particular situation that life presents, you should learn how to conduct yourself without inflicting traumatizing experiences on the child. How many men will your daughter call daddy? How many women will your mother call mother, under the guise of either mommy, or you can't replace the biological parents of a child. So you should try to conduct yourself in a healthy manner that doesn't cause. And when these children grow up, you mirror this behavior. When these children grow up, I wonder what you expect of these children. Will they behave better? This is what you've taught them. And some of them, that void causes a problem to them. We've heard certain reports, not that we've heard, we know these things. These are things that we see around. Biological parents don't do very well with children that are not their own. And so the tendency to cause trauma, whether be it physical abuse, be it emotional abuse, be it distress to them, in one way or the other, is always a problem.
Thank you. Okay. How does this experience affect the reintegration into society or return to school and family life?
Um, a child who is weaponized is naturally, we've already established the fact that goes through childhood trauma. We talk about what we call the 9-year life cycle of a child, 0 to 9, 10 to 18, where they are below the childhood ages. 0 to 9, which is the formative years, where you're supposed to teach the child self-worth, teach the child love, teach the child, values that will be the pillars, the ethos that this child will grow with, and the child is being weaponized. When the child gets to the stage of logic and analysis, when possibly they are 10 to 18, where they go to schools and they see other children, first and foremost, there's going to be, the child will first question themselves. You know that a child that is raised in love comes out differently. It's research has shown this. So when a child like this goes to school and has issues, because weaponizing a child first and foremost causes a distress, such that some of the expressions of this distress include um, uh, uh, introverting. Is that the word to use? Uh, not being expressive. So this child fitting into a school system, because of the emotional stress, the child is not able to function. The child can't do well in school or in class because there's a void, because there's trauma, because there's abuse going on, because the child is being used. When we talk about abuse of children, sometimes people think that it's only physical abuse, only when touch is involved. Emotional abuse is one of the worst. One of the worst. And in weaponizing children, one of the forms of abuse, yelling, you're always there, making children tell lies, making children do things that are against their own wish, things that naturally abuse their rights as children. Encompassing in child rights is the fact that you're supposed to protect the child holistically to their emotions. So you see, children of this nature are not able to perform well in schools. And when they grow up to become either mothers or fathers themselves, they can only give the much that they know. That's why children who have gone through childhood trauma need to be counseled. When we went to secondary school, the counseling unit of every school needed to be functional. So if we're not speaking to our parents, if you think there was something that was happening that was not right at home, you should speak to your counselors. So my question would be, how many schools in today's society, particularly the part of the world where we come from, still have functional counseling units with licensed counselors, with certified counselors who know what to do? How many schools today tell children and say to children, in case you're going through this stress, please meet a counselor? The most we have in most cases are the classroom teachers. These children can complain to their classroom teachers, but that is not enough. Schools, I advise and I'm advocating that you have functional counseling units. That is why we have guardians and counseling units. So it is not enough for the class children to do it, for the class teacher to do it. Get proper counselors that can help these children.
That is beautiful, man. Okay. How have government institutions, NGOs, and civil society fare in terms of sensitization on the menace?
The thing is that, like, I know a couple of NGOs that are that are doing well. I think that putting government organizations and NGOs together may not be too appropriate, or civil society. Civil society, they're doing well, the advocacy is great, but you see that these advocacies, these advocacies are they really ever enough? I think that we should also put in religious organizations, because um, we are very religious people in this part of the world. Almost every child sometimes has contact with the Sunday school. Do you understand? So you see that even people who come in contact with children, be it as classroom teachers, be it as school owners, be it as Sunday school teachers, be it as pastors or religious leaders, need to be, it's not just a job for the civil society organizations and the NGOs. We should also have media houses, giving sensitization, marriage counselors giving sensitization, creating education. Because the thing about weaponizing children sometimes is that it's a spur of the moment thing. There's a trigger and then it just happens. But much with maturity and responsibility comes a lot of expectations and knowledge that you should apply. So I don't think that it's just civil society organizations and NGOs. I think that where we are right now may not be totally fine. We need to do more. We need to do more, because as the days go by, we have more and more abuse. Some of these weaponized children are not only biological children, children who find themselves living with people who are not their parents, who may not find the courage to speak, are children who also need. So we need to do more. We need to do more, generally speaking. Government needs to do more. Government agencies need to do more. NGO civil organizations need to advocate more, need to speak more. NGOs, yes, need to do more. We need to educate people on child's rights and everything that will protect children.
So, how can the regular media, including social responsible reports on cases involving weaponizing children, without further traumatizing or stigmatizing them?
Okay, the media. Regrettably, what sells in the media is sensational stories, stories that get more clicks, more likes, more shares, and more reposts, are stories that may not be stories of this nature entirely. And even when we post the stories that bother around children that are sensational, we do it for the clicks and whatever. Emotion social media can rally for us, without, sometimes we really don't follow through. Look at you and I, how many social media influencers, how many of them really look into cases of this nature, weaponizing children. you know what we need to do is that, I think that media outlets, be it social media platforms, be it mainstream media, need to create consistent education for people and not ignore the fact that children are being weaponized. The media has to be part of it. But one of the principles, or one of the functions of any media outfit, is to educate people. So I think that the media should come up strong in the area of education, in the area of joining the advocacy, and also publicizing, you know. And one thing we need to learn is that when we tell stories that concern children, we shouldn't tell the stories exposing the children. We shouldn't tell the stories exposing the children in a negative way, because the media, internet now these days never forget. So their best practices. We can't stop telling these children without further traumatizing them. But we shouldn't use children for clicks, likes, shares, and reposts. So when you're telling your stories to create awareness and publicity and educate, please do well to protect the image or the identity of the child.
Thank you so much.
So
Okay.
we should be a safe haven for these children.
Okay. Before I let you go, ma, what are your final thoughts and message to stakeholders on the issue of weaponizing children?
Every child, everybody should play, every adult should be a source of strength and protection to children, because at the end of the day, children are little humans who have their fundamental and basic human rights as well. Um, and we should, as adults, be aware that encompassed in these rights is the right of protecting children through whatever it is that we have to and must do. So let us protect the children's well-being, be they our children or the children of other people. Let us report to relevant authorities where we see that it's not right. But very importantly, within ourselves, let us advise ourselves and let us be aware that our actions, our inactions can impact negatively. And to parents, spouses, partners, I beg you, don't weaponize children. This is one of the most common forms of weaponizing children. If you're having issues with your partner or your spouse, keep the children out of it. And if there's anything that you must do, you must build bridges, not to cut children off from their parents. Every child needs their parents. You keep the communication active. Don't run down the father. I mean, a man who is supposed to be the first love of his daughter's life, you run him down, you throw him under the bus, you expose his nakedness to his daughter. How is that supposed to be? So you see what I'm trying to say, and vice versa. You know what I mean? Please handle your personal issues without weaponizing these children because you want to score a point. I hope I communicated. Always keep a healthy, always when you have children in your space, the primary thing, the divine thing you're to do is to help these children to grow up to become valuable and responsible individuals to themselves and society. Do not leave trauma. Do not leave trauma by way of you weaponizing them for your own gains or trying to score any point. It makes no sense. The truth of the matter is that at the end of the day, the children that you're raising, if you weaponize them, you will become a victim of the weapons of the results. You will face the consequences of weaponizing children. And this may be very detrimental. You will not like the end of it. Let us be children who are emotionally healthy, physically healthy, healthy all round. Okay, those little things you're doing are detrimental and are causing childhood trauma for these children, and they often live with it. So today we have a lot of adults who are healing their inner child, and not too nice, not too nice. So you're wondering what kind of spouses they themselves will become, what kind of leaders they themselves will become. It all started with you weaponizing them. So think about it.